Hi, my name is Sandra Tarantino, and I'm an artist and artist educator with Vibe Arts. Today I'm going to walk you through the process of what's involved in creating a mural. Whether it's indoor or outdoors, I'm going to go through all the supplies that you'll need, the brainstorming, sketching, and the creation process of working with acrylic or latex paint, and what you need to do once your mural is done. Vibe Arts' mandate has always been to bring power of community and creativity to the children and youth of Ontario. Its mission has been to work collaboratively with partners and under-resourced communities to create a lasting impact on the lives of young people through arts education and programming. Over the past decade, I've been able to go to many schools and communities across the GTA area to facilitate and collaborate on mural programs. By working with dynamic themes and giving students attainable skills, they've been able to engage in their communities through the creation of stunning murals that have had lasting impact for years. Some of the themes have revolved around environmental awareness, inclusivity, and both human and LGBTQ rights, as well as mental health awareness. In March 2020, I went to Grenoble Public School and worked with grade 5 students who designed and created a mural about finding common spaces across diversity and building community. Here are some of the steps we took to create this stunning mural and how you can create your own mural even at home. The first thing we did was brainstormed our theme. I introduced students to artists both internationally and locally that used a similar theme of diversity in their mural creation, such as Cobra Street Art, Elixir, and Jennifer Nichols. The idea of friendship and having people come together really stood out for the students. We also looked at the book I Have the Right to Be a Child. Written and illustrated by Elaine Ceres and Aurelia Fonte, this book provided beautiful illustrations to serve as inspiration. Step 2 is about developing skills and sketching out all of the ideas. Students learned how to draw a portrait in an easy and attainable way, as well as how to design basic graffiti-style fonts to relay their message clearly. Once their sketch was finalized, we looked at various painting techniques as well as how to render their portrait with paint. The first thing you'll need to do is find a suitable primer for whatever surface you're working on, whether it's drywall, wood, or concrete. Once you've primed your surface, you'll also need to get some colored chalk for sketching and drawing, acrylic paints in your primary colors, so yellow, blue, red, and primary magenta. You'll need brushes according to the size of your surface, paint containers, water, spray bottle, and a palette. We looked at photographer Angelica Das and how she has matched thousands of Pantone colors to portraits in an attempt to capture the range of diversity in skin tone. We used this as a starting point from which to mix skin tones to use within the mural. We were ready to paint. Students took chalk and drew their portraits and graffiti text, and then we began the process of painting first in the background and then the portraits themselves. You want to get a nice range of brushes and sizes, and as well start to figure out your color palette with lights, mediums, and darks. So you can have a palette by your side. If you're right-handed, keep it on the right side. And we'll start to look through some of the techniques. First, there's blending. You can mix colors wet into wet and create a nice range from one color to the next, or you can also go from light to dark using white with whatever color you have. Dry brush, you don't want to use any water, and you just want to scuff the surface so that you begin to create some texture. Stippling is when you pounce different colors on top of one another, and you don't want to do it too much because then it just ends up all blending. Graffito is when you lay down a color and then place a contrasting color, either lighter or darker, and then scratch into the surface so that it creates a texture. Pointillism is when you use a rounded tip brush to create some dots, and you can layer different colors to create interest. You can use thin tip brushes or flat tip to create lines. That is another great way to create texture. This is really wonderful for hair. Now we're ready to start our portrait. You're going to first start off with an oval egg type of shape. Using your fingers at the top and the bottom of the chin, you're going to find your midway point, and that is where your eyes are. Once you've got that marked, find your midway point between your eyes and your chin, and that's a quarter of the head, and that is where your nose is. And then from that quarter point, you're going to find the middle between that and your chin, and that is 1/8 of the head is your mouth. So now we're ready to start drawing in our nose. You're going to start first with the U shape, and then extend the lines up and create your brows. The nostrils are a C and a backward C, and then a little upside down U. Using the edge of the nostrils, you're going to create the lines going upwards and see the width of your eyes. The width between your nostrils is the same as between what the size of your eyes usually are. You're going to create the eyes using a circle and 2 crescent shapes, one for the top and one for the bottom for the lids. If you get the midpoint of your iris and go down, that's where your mouth is. You can create a little curve from underneath your nose, similar right there, and then create your mouth. And your ears line up with the top of your eye and brow to the bottom of your nose. Once that's in, you can get in your hair. We're ready to mix our skin tones. You want to get all your primary colors. Primary magenta is worth getting as well for nice purple tones. Here's your color wheel. I'm working with all the warm colors with your pure colors at the top, and then your tints, tones, and your shades. That's adding white, gray, or a little bit of black. We reviewed the work of Angelica Dust that shows you the range of skin tones that actually exist in the world. We grabbed 20 different containers and mixed different shades that were incorporated on the mural. Here you can see I'm starting off with an orange base, so yellow and magenta, and I add a bit of blue, actually too much blue. It's turned green. So now in order to shift it back to a neutral tone, I'm going to pick a color that's opposite on the color wheel. So a green you can mix with red and it'll turn it into a nice neutral brown. This can be a darker value of skin tone for our mural. Continue to mix your primary colors, yellow, magenta, and tiny amounts of blue with white. This will allow you to create a nice range of value in your skin tones. If you're creating a large mural, you're going to want to make sure that you're mixing enough paints that you don't run out halfway through your creation. So you can use just containers that you have at home, any kind of leftover yogurt container. You just want to make sure that your container has a good seal on it so that your paints don't dry out. You can see here now that I've got a nice range from light to dark in terms of my skin tones. I can use a paper and just blend from light to dark to show the range, and when you're painting on your mural you can also do the same by blending various skin tones on one portrait. Once you've created your full range, you'll want to get 2 of the medium tones that are next to each other along that scale, a dark and a light to use on your portrait. First you outline all of your chalk drawing with the dark value. Your lighter area is going to be on areas where light hits your face, so your forehead, your nose, your cheeks, and the top of your chin. Shadow areas are going to be under your eyes, underneath the nose, and under the neck, and this is where you're going to want to use your darks. Begin to plot in your first layer of your medium lights and your medium darks in those specific general areas. Once you've got all of your medium tones blended in, you can start to plot in some of those darker shades for where the shadows are. I've got that first base coat all laid in, and I can start to go over it again with the second pass. So you're going to want to get in those medium tones in larger areas, get those highlights on top of the brow, the cheeks, the chin, the top of the chin, and getting those shadows underneath the brow, underneath the nose, and underneath the neck. And once you start laying all this second pass and blending it in, you're going to see that your figure is going to start to come alive. I'm going to start to paint in the eyes, and you want to get the eyeball first, and that's not actually a pure white. You're going to mix in a little bit of black into it to create a gray, and especially where you are above on the eyelid on top, you're going to have a little bit more of a shadow. Here I'm starting to get in the iris, so I'm going to make these eyes brown, and you're going to use a darker value around the edge and go lighter towards the center. Lip tone is actually just adding a little bit more red to a flesh tone, and you're going to have a darker value on top and a lighter value on the bottom part of the lip. That's where the highlight is going to be shining on it. Use a fine tip round brush, size 0 or smaller, to go over some of those lines that might get covered while you're painting. Just going over some of those highlight areas. As your acrylic paints or latex paints dry, they're going to always dry a shade darker, so you may need to go in and touch those up a little bit with a lighter value. In finalizing the details on the eyes, you want to make sure you have a little bit of shadow on the eyeball just underneath the top lid. You can start to go over some of those lines around the eyelid and the iris, and you're going to create that dark circle pupil with black and get in a little bit of a highlight with a white dot just on the same spot on either side, whether it's on the right side or the left side of each iris, so that it creates that nice little shimmer and comes to life with that light being reflected on the eye. The techniques I've shown are a simple illustrative way to create a rendering of a human portrait. You can use these techniques to create a self-portrait, create a rendering of a fantastical being, or anything else you'd like to incorporate in a mural. Once you've completed your mural, you may want to protect it, especially if it's outdoors. Go to your local hardware store and pick up a water-based Varathane with a UV protection in it. If it's a large-scale mural, you need a gallon, and if it's a small one, a quart will do. And just follow the instructions on the back. If an area is not really high traffic, such as a bedroom, this is optional. This has been a Vibe Maker's Opportunity, a series that is made possible by Vibe Arts. If you like what you're doing and value the arts in your life, now is a great time to donate at vibearts.ca/donate. Vibe offers opportunity for students, artists, and community to come together to create. Thank you to artists Shashan and Erica for your support during the mural. My name is Sandra Tarantino, and you can follow me at artwithms.t and at Sandra Tarantino. Thank you to the students at Grenoble Public School and everyone at Vibe Arts.